All right, you're still watching TV47 Breakfast Show, and we're exiting with a clip that definitely is disturbing, and you can still give in your views. Do you think the way the Somali in that particular culture group have decided to cure depression is the way to go, using a hyena? Do talk to us, the conversation still goes on, but right now we're taking a look at what is happening in the country through the eye of the papers, and the hashtag is TV47 Breakfast. And we already have analysts here in the studio, but before we get to know who is with us this morning, the Standard on the very first page, how Tuju gambled his billions. That is on the first page of the Standard, and why Raila brought ODM rebels back into the fold. If you want to know more about that, you can grab a copy for yourself. On the Star this day, we have Uhuru warns Somalia of border conflicts. Fighting erupted near Mandera on Monday. Mogadishu claims Kenya is harboring a wanted man. Mogadishu has continuously claimed that Kenya is harboring former Security Minister of Jubaland. And right now the president has come out, or state house has come out guns blazing, claiming that Mogadishu bringing its battle into Kenya, that was invasive. We'll take a look at what's happening on that. And on the Daily Nation, Kenya wants Somalia over border fight is still one of the main issues. And something else that I'm sure Kenyans are getting frustrated with is who is frustrating Kinotti's effort to fight corruption. Well, we're not sure who is frustrated in this conversation, but we do know that the office of the DCI and the office of the DPP clashed over Kenya Ports Authority case that was involving Daniel Manduku, who was Kenya Ports Authority boss. And then we also have the issue of blood crisis hampers safe motherhood, covered on Daily Nation. Do we have a blood crisis? What is the solution? And why exactly do we not have enough resources to collect blood? And politics definitely hitting it like always. This gentleman, the Deputy President, Dr. William Ruto, actually says, let's meet on the headlines. And for this reason, he is on the headlines again. Ruto allies magic bullet against Raila. Is there a magic bullet? What does that mean exactly? You can be part and parcel of this analysis. Call in live. The number is at the bottom of your screen, 22047 220447. Call in live. Let us know what you think about this. Hashtag TV47 Breakfast on Twitter and on Facebook as well. And we will be reading your SMSs on 22047 220447. Wanasema kwamba ni agenda ya vijana kwa lugha ya vijana na vile vijana wanapenda kupakuliwa. Welcome Edgar Willie Kosgei, governance and policy analyst. Karibu sana, happy to have you. Then I have Advice Mundalo. Emmanuel Terrell still wonders how somebody decided that advice, which can either be a verb or a noun, could be a name. But welcome, political scientist and an analyst as well. Karibuni sana. I know that the issue over Kenya and Somalia is a big deal today, and we have seen, or yesterday we actually saw a response finally from State House. We have seen development from the beginning. 11 members of parliament who went to Somalia in a visit that was shrouded in secrecy. They were accused of espionage. Later on, the conversation went to there was no foundational ground for accusing them of anything because they're entitled to that. And then we saw an attack. And then right now we have the 100,000, the maritime battle that is also there. We have the court case at ICC. It is one thing after another between Kenya and Somalia. Advice Mundalo, what do you make out of what is happening between Somalia and Kenya? Tumekuwa neighbors wabaya hivyo?
First of all, Corazon, thank you for inviting me, and it feels nice to talk English at TV47.
Una uhuru, by the way, you can mix. Sisi ni vijana, you know, it's a language.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, about Kenya and Somalia, I think we are moving towards a direction that is not very good as a country. And I don't think it was one of the right moves for the MPs to go and to Somalia and visit a head of state. It really, far from whether they are allowed to do so, whether they didn't commit any sin. It's not about that, but it basically doesn't make a lot of sense for 11 members of parliament to go into a foreign country and meet the president and the intelligence. I think it paints to a lot of doubt, and I think the security agencies in Kenya need to treat it as a matter that they should deal with very seriously. But basically there's a lot of problem in Somalia. You see, they have come to even fight just near the Juba near the border, and this is affecting the Kenyans as well. But what I like is, at least for once, the president has become very candid with his reaction. He has actually fired a warning shot to Somalia. I've not seen this in the whole history of Uhuru politics. He has always been very reserved. Even when Tanzania burnt our chicken, I didn't see any serious reaction from him. Even when there was a time again, Magufuli sent back our cabinet secretary, was it Keter, of energy, to go and come back with a passport. We didn't see Uhuru become jittery about it. But at least for once on this Somali issue, he has issued a warning shot, and I think that is the direction we need to go, because otherwise, you know, somebody is playing with our minds.
All right.
Yeah.
Edgar, who is in the offense in this case? Because both sides are claiming there has been violation and invasion of their against their sovereignty.
TV47, thank you for having me again this week, and it feels nice too. But nilikuwa nimezoea Kiswahili.
You can mix.
I was so growing. I was growing in Swahili. I never spoken Swahili before.
You can continue.
Whether you can continue Swahili.
I can continue, right?
Yeah, you know,
Chambua,
the whole idea is the youth have been left out of most of these conversations. You're going to see senior people in most of these platforms.
Will Mary invite me again if I speak Swahili?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
TV47, we actually particularly want to make sure that the youth feel involved in these conversations. So Swahili, Kizungu, what is it that you think will resonate well with your heart?
All right. I'll mix it.
Go ahead.
All right.
All right.
The issue about Kenya and Somalia, Kenya reacted politically. It played a victim. Oh, you have come to our land and you have violated the international laws, and we don't feel that is nice. The response of Kenya would have been a military response. They were in Mandera town, by the way. They were not in our neighborhood, as advice alluded earlier.
Yes.
They were at home and they were harassing the people of Kenya.
But the government actually gave out a statement that said they had not reached our land. They were at the border.
If you read
from their
today,
end. Yes.
if you read the whole of this statement, it said they were in our town, in Mandera. How do you violate international laws if you haven't gone to anyone's country?
All right.
They did. They were here. They harassed the people of Mandera, and Kenya responded diplomatically, and it diverted our view from the war that was happening in Mandera into the internal squabbles of the Somali government. It was like, guys, please, just solve whatever is happening in there. Don't come to our home. That was a good response for me.
But who is in the offense? Mogadishu or Nairobi?
We are the victims. Can't you see? We are crying. We have a military power. We are big in Africa. I think we are number 6 or something. And we are responding that way to Somalia. In 1994, Somalia shot down a U.S. helicopter that was coming to rescue and that was coming to put order in Somalia. U.S. withdrew. Somalia fell and crumbled. And Somalia is now being helped to come up. Right now, Somali, things now it has grown. And is now coming to talk about Kenya being unfair in terms of whatever is happening in Somalia. It is thinking it has grown right now. But I want to remind them that life is not about warring. It is not about fighting. It is also about playing politics the way Kenyatta has played it. And now the international community knows that Kenya is a victim.
All right, we took the higher moral ground,
yes.
But still, well, you haven't really answered. You've reacted. You've reacted and taken the higher moral ground as well.
I think, Corazon, the standard
yes.
kind of comes to my defense on page 5, because they say this follows Monday's incident in which Somali troops clashed with Jubaland forces in Bulahawa, near Mandera border town. So they actually didn't get to Kenya.
Yeah.
And also
the statement that I think Edgar Koski is referring to, yesterday's State House statement insinuated that they fought their war on Kenya's land, and that caused panic to Kenyans.
Yeah, it's more or less true. But then, Kosgei says we should have reacted with a military approach.
I didn't say that.
I don't think we need to be that. Remember,
advice should be advice.
As Kosgei again puts it himself, we are one of the strongest militaries in Africa. And therefore, when you are strong, there is a way you react. You don't necessarily always have to use a lot of energy because after all, you have the options and you can always.
You're the big brother.
You are the big brother. So we know that we don't need to go head on with Somali because it's not really not necessary. You always don't need to throw yourselves into the mud of the pig for you to show the pig that you are a human being.
All right. As you respond to advice. There was a claim also in that statement that Somalia is deliberately trying to pull Kenya into a war that does not exist. And there have been claims prior to that the Western countries that are interested in resources in Somalia that are indirectly fighting this war. And the advisor talked about reacting. How best would Kenya react in this scenario if it is true that this war is deliberately pulling Kenya in because other people are interested? It means it's a conflict. It's a real conflict.
Before I answer that,
yes,
I want to quote Kanza Dena. She said, the foreign soldiers in flagrant breach and total disregard of international laws and conventions engaged in aggressive, belligerent activities by harassing and destroying properties of Kenyan citizens living in the border town of Mandera. So it means they were inside here. And that one I've quoted Kanza.
State House, yes.
Yes, State House. Yeah. Somalia is a rich country. And people will want to fight for resources in Somalia. And they would want to use the people of Somalia to cause unnecessary mayhem in the country so that they can have a leeway of getting the resources from Somalia. We've been accused of selling charcoal and the bosses enriching themselves using charcoal. Somalia and Kenya are in a tussle over a border at the coast over oil. Somalia is rich. So whatever is happening, maybe this is the tip of the iceberg. And maybe there is theft that is going on, and Somalia is maybe protesting of things that are happening inside. Somalia read a statement at the UN, but it did not accuse Kenya directly on any direct activity. It is talking of interfering, but there is no single direct accusation to the country. So Somalia should come out directly and tell. Right.
And how best would Nairobi react that would properly bring a solution if this indeed is provocation?
This is a good reaction.
The statement.
Yes, it's a good reaction. Telling Somalia, grow up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Advice.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think Kenya reacted in the right way because the first thing we simply needed to do is to just give them notice. What we have not been doing formally. And at least for the first time, the president has given them notice, telling them, you know what, we are aware that this is a problem, but please just hold on, hold your horses. And to me, that was the best reaction, so that when, in case of anything else, as a country will be justified to take any other actions. But for now, we didn't really want Kenya to react by sending one of the military choppers to fly over Jubaland. I think that would have been unnecessary. Right. So I think the reaction by State House was okay, and it shouldn't be blown out of proportion. That is exactly what should happen. But then the issue about the members of parliament, I repeat, going to meet the head of state, I think that is something Matiang'i and his people need to really look into, because they don't do that.
Okay, investigations are actually underway.
The last thing about the fugitive in Kenya, there is some fugitive who is in Kenya.
A Somali claims.
Yes, someone who is kept from jail.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we take ourselves to Canada and fight Canada because it is housing Miguna?
We sent Miguna out.
Yeah, we sent him out.
Yes.
But we can't get into a country where there is a fugitive coming from our country and go fighting there because they're housing our fugitive. It should have been a negotiation from State House to State House. A government-to-government negotiation,
right,
so that they can use their police to get that person out. If you decide to keep a fugitive, then get the fugitive home here.
All right. Yeah. Okay. On the issue of fugitive, do you have something to say? Advice that apparently the former Minister of Security of Jubaland is being held in Kenya, and Somalia finds it offensive that Kenya is holding that fugitive. And that was actually one of the issues that apparently were discussed between Mogadishu and the 11 members of parliament. They said if they don't surrender the fugitive, it will be considered as an offense.
I think first of all, we need to understand why this fugitive is in Kenya.
Right.
And why Somali thinks that this person needs to be released back to them. Because if it is a person who is causing instability in Somali, then when Kenya houses that person, then it's indirectly supporting insecurity in that country. But if it's the other way around, then again it's a whole different ballgame. So I think first of all we need to understand the reasons why. And this fugitive is a former minister, I think. It's a former minister. So I think we first of all need to understand the reasons as to why this person was brought into Kenya. The reason why this person got out of prison, because we are told he ran away from prison. Is it he ran away or he ran away from prison, right?
It was a jail.
He was serving a sentence.
Yes.
And then before it was over, somehow he escaped.
Yes.
And he got himself...
Prison break.
And he got himself in Kenya. So we need to really understand as well, what is the reason?
Yes.
What was the reason behind it? Because we have seen a lot of these things happening in history, where we have political asylum. Yeah, we have seen even Raila was one time in another country. Most of these political leaders, at one point or the other, find themselves in the other country to organize a few other things. Right. But the reason why they are there is what is important.
Okay, that is what is important.
And that reason is what we have not been given.
Okay, thank you very much. You can talk to us and tell us, is Somalia being an ungrateful neighbor? Is Somalia being an ungrateful neighbor? Now that we have seen Status has responded to this, I believe that we will continue to cover it as it goes forward. Page 4 of the Daily Nation, gentlemen, is still talking about the offense right now between the Director Criminal Investigation, George Kinoti, and the Director of Public Prosecution, Mr. Nudin Haji. Apparently, the bromance that existed between these two very prominent gentlemen in the beginning, because we saw an interview that was done by Reuters earlier last year, and they were clear that the reason why they were successful in the investigations and prosecution of cases is because they worked together as a team. And we do remember that Mr. George Kinoti actually praised Mr. Nudin Haji's capacity as a prosecutor, because he believed he had the fieldwork skills. But there is one gentleman that is coming in between these two people. Talk to us and tell us what you think. But Honorable Edgar Koski, what do you think is happening between Mr. George Kinoti right now and Mr. Nudin Haji? And why is it that the Kenya Ports Authority case involving Mr. Daniel Manduku is such a sensitive thing that for the first time they actually clashed publicly over this case? What is happening? Is it over?
Finally, reporter.
No, it was, and apparently, actually, it was with the DPP. It was recalled. It was recalled to his office because he said he had not been given that file before the court.
The DPP holds a constitutional office. No direction from anyone whatsoever. He can even direct the Inspector General to do an investigation into a certain thing.
Yes, yes.
You know. Now, the DCI prepares a case and gives the case to the DPP. In this case, the charge sheet to the DPP. The DPP will now make a case before a judge, and the judge will determine whether the victim is guilty or innocent. So the DPP is the lawyer in this case and has to understand the law. What are you charging this person? What are the charges of this person according to the law? That's why a layman police cannot do the work of the DPP. You have to be trained as a lawyer first. Now, if you look at the charge sheet, and the charge sheet is a lot of whatever, is a lot of nonsense. How can you take such a person to court with nonsense written on a piece of paper as a lawyer? In this case, I'm with the DPP. The DCI head, Kinoti, is a flamboyant fellow. He is seen going to the media, invites the media, charges people through the media, and tells people...
Edgar, the DCI says that the problem was the DPP had not reviewed the file, and the DPP also said that he had not reviewed the file. He was not given the file on time to review it. He did not say that the charges were neither here nor there. And now the question is, why didn't the office of the DPP review the file even after having received it months earlier?
As I said earlier, the DPP cannot be given any direction from whomever or whatever persons. It is a constitutional office run by the DPP. And as I said also, that the DPP has discretion either to prosecute or not to prosecute based on whatever is happening. In this case, I'm with the DPP 100%. And the cases have not been successful in court because the charge sheets have been full of nonsense.
All right.
And this has been a political war. And I have always said that let us finish the political war first, and then after that now we start fighting corruption. We get done. The DCI Kinoti has always been used to fight political wars. And the DPP maybe has not understood the political wars. So they should come together on the table and understand that it's a political war. Let's fight a political war. If we are concocting here, let's concoct here, bring it together, charge someone, let someone go in. When we are done playing with the charge sheets, let's come back to serious business.
Heavy sentiments there, Advice Modalo. Heavy sentiments from he's talked about concussions, he's talked about political wars, but I'm sure this reminds Kenyans literally of the tough wars that existed between the DPP Keriako Tobiko then and the DCI Ndegwa Muhoro in cases that were never really successful because of political wars. What do you have to say about this?
I think first of all, I want to say that the DCI, I think the number of arrests and is more or less congruent to the number of press conferences he has done. And he has been too public. Yes, we understand that it's a public office, but I don't think in the nature of that office, he's actually supposed to actually execute his mandate through the media per se. But then you really asked about the bromance that existed, and now it's more or less fading away. And in my view, it is unfortunate because it is going... I don't know that it's going to do this or it has already done it, but their credibility is actually getting into question. Because like what happened, was it yesterday in court, that it was a very bad scenario where somebody has been brought to court and the DPP is saying they're not even aware. They're not even aware of what is happening there. So it is actually killing their credibility, and there has always been the perception that the DCI is being used to fight political wars. It is my fear that he's struggling so much to prove the perception right.
All right. You two gentlemen have mentioned that the DCI in this case has been accused of fighting political wars, or has been accused of failing to successfully bring forward charges that can be prosecuted in court. In this case, the DCI actually says that he had done his investigations way early in time and completed and forwarded this file to the DPP's office. However, the DPP says that he had not been given the file in time to actually review it. In this case, the DCI actually isolated himself from any reproach, saying that he had completed his investigation. However, the question in this case is the tenders for cargo holding facilities that were supposed to be created here in Nairobi, and the claims have been that they are prominent, or their personalities that are quite prominent in this whole tender, and that it was shrouded with corruption. And the DPP being the one that did not review the file that was given, and somehow prevented the case from being successful even when Daniel Manduku was already being held and waiting charges. In this case, are you still looking at the DCI and questioning his effectivity or effectiveness? I don't know.
I still do, because we can only judge the current by the former. And we have seen the former, the history of the DCI. We have had those, okay, this is one of the cases where he's saying, okay, the DPP did not receive the file. Now we have those others where the DPP received the file. What was the end product? Yeah. At the end of the day, it was said that, you know what, the investigations were shoddy and these people, they not meet the threshold. We have not seen anyone who has been paid courtesy of these DCI investigations. So we cannot just use this one scenario where the DPP is saying, I didn't see the file, and then hold brief for the DCI and then term him to be as white as snow. I don't think so. I think this particular incident about KPA, is it KPA?
KPA, yes, Kenya
about,
Ports Authority,
about
yes.
KPA is unfortunate. It's very unfortunate, and up to where it has reached so far, you can only read malice and political interference. It more or less looks like this is a political war. There are some very many people behind the scenes. It's not just the DPP and the DCI. We have so many people behind the scenes who seem to be into this war. So it's not just purely a legality issue. It is also a political issue.
Right.
And that is what is unfortunate between the DCI and the DPP. I think they are on different sides of the political coin.
They are, and that is the question, Edgar. If they are on different sides of the political coin, who is dirty between the two? Because the DCI Judge Kinoti actually says, and I quote, "My officers are now getting frustrated daily. They spend a lot of time investigating crime, risking their lives, and even after getting all the evidence required to prosecute cases, they are reduced to carrying files." Who is dirty if either of them is dirty politically?
Well, you know, right now, I'm being forced to think beyond what I should be thinking. One of them is that the law enforcement people who are given the mandate to enforce the law should understand the law. First, they should be lawyers. I'm thinking so. They should be given the big book of the Constitution to understand what they're enforcing. Because if you cannot write a charge according to the law, then what is your function as police? You know, if you cannot come up with a charge that the DPP, the lawyer of the state, can understand, then what is your function? And number two, charging the high and mighty who are owning the parcels of land in KPA. We have seen the DCI even arrest those close to the second in command, the deputy president. What is the case in this? They have charged a KPA boss. KPA boss is a director. A director affects the economy of the country directly. A director is a powerful person in the country running a parastatal. You know, I can't see the reason why someone should not be arrested.
Right.
They have been arrested before. And this, I told you and I declared even before we started, I am with the DPP in this case. And I want the police to be writing things which even the judges can understand, because all the cases have been thrown out.
All right.
We have, and the Transparency International has give our the corruption perception index
yes.
at 28. Last year it was at 27. The other year was at 28. 0 being the worst, 100 being the best. You know, we're at 28. We have been stagnating, and we have had 1,001 charges. 1,000 plus charges, and we have not even moved in our corruption perception index.
All right. And as we finish and close up on that, remember you can join in this conversation. Emmanuel Simius is watching from Naivasha. Karibu sana. Emmanuel, Terena na kuona hapo nasema hilarious and informative conversations. Kwani wewe una watch kutoka wapi? But do remember to stay here and talk to us. 22047 is the SMS line. Call in live as well. Na tusemezane tuambiane. Right now when we have the DPP and the DCI actually at loggerheads, what is happening? Do we even have any hope of solving corruption issues? Niambie pia ukipiga simu moja kwa moja. As we tie up on this advice, let us look, in your opinion, how successful has this duo been before this particular stalemate came out? In the cases that they have tried to charge and prosecute in the past. I know the one that is most conspicuous is the NYS scandal. And how far do you think they have been successful as a duo?
I think on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give them about a 3, because they have not been very successful. And I think when they were not successful, all of them joined hands and blamed the judiciary. and they say the judiciary was not cooperating with this, and they say the judiciary is being political, the judiciary is not supportive to this fight. But then now that they are not together, now they are blaming each other. So we are a country where you really don't know who to blame, because at some point the judiciary is the problem. In fact, the president joined them in blaming the judiciary. Today we still don't have the 14 judges have not been appointed. I think courtesy of the perception that Kinoti and DPP created, the judiciary is a problem and is the one tampering with the war against graft. Now today, when they have a problem within themselves, each of them is blaming the other. So I think when I look at the NYS scandal, I see many people are still moving with us in the streets.
Right.
When you look at the Treasury scandal, people are still outside the streets.
Right.
So we don't have a lot of success stories, because maybe the only success story they have is the lady whose child is becoming a chokora because the child cannot speak German. I think that is the only success story I've seen.
Actually, that was a painful thing she said. You know, it looked like she felt she was being sacrificed on behalf of other people who should have been suffering as well.
Yeah.
And people only picked the chokora bit and forgot about everything else
I
that she
actually
said.
felt her, because what I understand is sometimes in this scandal, like the money they were in the NYS, honestly, she couldn't have.
Yeah, and she actually said that the person who is responsible, anamjua na yuko pale ndani kwa DCI anawahangaisha. But nobody remembers that statement.
But then it just wants Kenyans to also be very careful in what you take part in, because most of the time you will be used, and then after you are used, you will be told to register a company. You will be called Edgar Kosgei. You will be the director of the company.
Right.
The company will be used to swindle 200 million, and then you will be given 200,000.
In this economy.
Yeah. In this but again, when you say in this economy, it makes sense that there's desperation in this economy.
So where do you be careful in terms of how they are used?
How much care can you actually have when there is desperation? You become vulnerable.
You really need to put your moral standing ahead of every other thing, despite the harsh economy. Everyone has a conscience,
right,
and the moral standing. You really have to put it ahead of everything else, so that you don't get yourself into such dealings. I totally want to, I feel the problem that lady is going through, because I know that most likely even the money that she received is not comparable to the money other people received, and they are outside there. They are actually even vying for other seats.
All right.
Some of them are even elected into office. So I feel her, but then it needs to also serve as a warning to every other person that, you know what, when you are going, despite your levels of desperation, please don't get pushed to levels where you want to take part in things you don't understand. Just be cautious, and just be careful.
All right.
Yeah.
Ben Sam Stefan is telling you to ask Edgar Kosgei about Kimorere and the roar, and how, if you think that Ruto was involved, and if you think that either the DCI or the DPP helped to quash the case. But as you answer that also, the trickle-down effect of money in this economy, Advice Mundalo, might push youths to get involved in this situation. So maybe before we blame them, we should not excuse youth. Okay.
We should not use the economy to make people lose their conscience. We cannot use the economy to now make people just behave badly because we have a bad economy.
Okay, all right.
No. People should just stick within.
Hapa tutaenda BBI sasa.
Should be put in the BBI.
Hapa tutaenda morals. So BBI iko na morals.
Values of people. People should just be genuine with themselves.
Ethos,
and I think the youth just need to be told that, you know what, you can still work hard and still just succeed.
Okay,
let's not push them and say, you know what, now that the economy is bad, still a little bit. I think that is the wrong narrative.
Okay, it's the wrong narrative, lakini tusiende kule kwa ethics na ethos kwa sababu tutajipata kwenye BBI. Nikuulize kuhusu Kimorere Road, and then unafikiria Ruto alikuwa involved, sijui kwa sababu gani amekuletea hilo swali, na if you think the DCI or the DPP, either of them was used to quash the case. Anaitwa Ben Sam Safan.
Okay. Ben Sam, I know where you're coming from. I know why you're asking that. And I want to thank you for supporting Baba so much, Ben Sam. In answering him, I repeat my earlier statement. I want to say that when we are done fighting Ruto, can we now go back to serious business? The DCI has been concentrating on concocting, fabricating, bringing together, and cooking things and serving the public.
Kimorere and Road, don't
forget. Yes, all of that, all of that. Every dam that they started with Kimorere and Road has not they have not even, they are in the same state, you know.
Do you remember what happened to the case?
Yeah, there is no successful prosecution. If someone was culpable, watu wangekuwa wamefungwa saizi, wangekuwa na rote. And it would have been funzo to others. Even if they were selectively prosecuting the Tanga people, they should do it successfully. You know, they should do it successfully and jail these people, all of them, to get them in, so that they can be a funzo to the country. But the problem is, we don't have water at home in Baringo.
Right.
That is the biggest problem. Kimwarer and Aror, those two dams were supposed to help me and my community members. And now we are being told there is corruption inside. And now there is no solution to give me water. The government should solve the solution of theft and should solve the solution of water in Kimwarer and Aror. As I said earlier, when we are done playing DCI, Kati, and Chamama Chababa, let's get back to business.
Advice, Edgar says when we are done playing politics, but the reality is we still have to ask questions because the DCI's office and the DPP's office have a mandate and the responsibility given by Kenyans concerning the same issue, Kimwarer and Aror, that Edgar has a little evaded. How do you think the whole case was handled again, looking at the investigations that happened and the process of the prosecution and the claims that were made about witnesses being given positions here and there that may have affected and interfered with the case? What is your opinion on how the case was handled? Now, as we talk about the DCI and the DPP's
the case was handled in the traditional manner in which Kenya handles critical cases. And the only point I want to really agree with Edgar, he's very passionate about Kimwarer because I think he was supposed to be a beneficiary, is because
really through water.
The water.
Oh yeah, thank you. Thank you, advice.
You know, it speaks a lot that you actually reacted like that. It means that your thoughts went somewhere else. Yeah.
So and where the thoughts go, sometimes that's where the heart is. But anyway,
right.
What I always have a problem with is the case of Kimwarer. This dam was actually supposed to help the people of Baringo.
Right.
And by now, I think if it were not for this up and down, it would have been maybe almost over or even over, and people could have been. I'm talking about the completion of the dam, not even the cases. Okay. It is unfortunate that once a case starts, we start playing a lot of drama with the cases as people continue to suffer. I would wish for a situation whereby you get a solution in which you continue building this dam, let it end as you continue dealing with these prosecutions. So that at the end of the day, no common Kenyan has to suffer just because you're busy fighting and doing court cases. Because people in Baringo don't have water. They need these dams. Somebody needed to ensure, the president needed to ensure that, okay, there was a problem here. Somebody wanted towels to build a dam. Fine, let's deal with this case here. But then, let's work on a formula in which this dam can still be built.
All right.
About how the prosecution went, unless I am not aware, but up to this time I have not seen any successful prosecution.
The case collapsed.
Most of the case was actually a public relations stunt. And that is my problem with the DCI. The DCI has a lot of energy when he's arresting people. A lot of drama, a lot of hype, newspaper headlines. Cameras, and then after that, we don't see anything successful coming out of them. Like the Aror and Kimwarer, was like, mostly it was used to mudsling the deputy president. And,
Thank you. You're coming home.
And people, I know anything about any person who tries to agree that the deputy president is being mudslang, if that is a word in English.
It is, yes.
If that is...
yes, it is.
It has not reached Baringo. I think because of the water problem. But then, I think it might have been true that, and I think it was true that there was corruption within the Kimwarer scandal. But the problem is, they heightened the perception about mudslinging William Ruto than dealing exactly with the issue.
Water.
So we need to move away from playing the politics of PR. The DCI needs to stop being a politician, and just start being a DCI. Let him deal with cases up to the end.
All right.
Not giving us public perceptions like you arrest Sonko with the 120 police officers going to arrest
helicopters,
a human being who is even unarmed. plus a helicopter. You see, that is drama, honestly, unless we're doing prison break.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much. Okay, because I know our time is also coming to an end. There is an issue also which is very critical, and that is blood shortage in the country. It is said factually that half of new mothers need blood transfusion because they suffer from hemorrhage. But then as we speak right now, the country only has 7,500 units of blood, and that is against the 400,000 units of blood that might be required. The institution that is responsible for collection of blood, Kenya National Blood Transfusion Service, claims that they do not have adequate funds to actually go through the process of collecting blood, screening the blood, and also storage of the blood. And according to the former director of the Kenya National Blood Transfusion Services, Director Frida Govedi, she actually said that besides the procedures that happen in universities and colleges, there is not so much happening outside in any other areas towards blood donation. A proposal that is currently on the table by the outgoing Health Cabinet Secretary Cecily Kariuki is why not sell blood and make money, because they say that this agency does not have any way of generating its own money, and the government does not have enough money, and blood is lacking in the country. And you know who suffers most, gentlemen? New mothers and children. All right. We have said enough. Do give me 1 second to take a gulp of water in this short break. But remember, the conversation goes on our TV47KE on Twitter and on Facebook. Send me an SMS and tell me what you think. Tuuze damu, don't go too far. All right, but you're still watching TV47 Breakfast. The hashtag is TV47 Breakfast on Twitter and on Facebook. We're looking at what is happening in our nation through the eye of the papers. And MC Mlango anasema tuned, wake up, King Mburu wa piano. Pia tunaamshana. Kama kuna mtu ambaye hajaamka kwende kwenye hustle, basi maamshe. But it is too late. How many Kenyans are actually asleep right now? But wake somebody up to show them that you care. Twende kwenye hustle, and you also have an opportunity to call in live and give your analysis on the topics that we're discussing this morning. 22047 is the SMS line, and also we are coming to you live on Facebook and on Twitter. I'm still with Honorable Edgar Kelsgay, karibu sana, and political scientist and analyst Advice Mondalo. Maswala ya damu basi yanakuwa ni maswala tofauti, and I'll begin with you, Edgar. What do you think about the current proposal on the table by the outgoing Health Cabinet Secretary Cecily Kariuki, that we find a way of selling blood so that the Kenya National Blood Transfusion body or service can find a way of making its own money? Isikwe broke vile iko broke.
Well, first there should be a regulation. First, to encourage people to go and give blood. Kenya needs 1 million pints of blood per year, according to the population that we have. In 2017, we had 169,000 pints of blood in our bank. And citing the problems of storage, citing the problems of screening, citing the problems of funding, the government is unable to raise the amount of blood that is needed. 34% of our mothers die because they lose only 1 pint. 1 pint. Just 1 pint, in which you get it in 10 minutes of a Kenyan sitting somewhere giving the blood. Why are we not encouraged to give blood? Why are we not encouraged? Should we give monetary
incentive?
Yes, incentive, so that someone can sit down knowing that I'll have 1,000 shillings because I have sat down. It should not be for profit, though. Number two, there is something that they wanted to propose in Parliament, to make the blood body a parastatal with a CEO. Someone seated, people who can be responsible for this blood. I have no other solution other than paying someone sitting down to give out blood. For an incentive, nitakuwa na chakula jioni. In fact, you have many people from the informal setting coming out to give blood because there is an incentive for them to sit down.
Right.
It is like selling your organs. I want to sell my ear, I want to sell. So there is that regulation that needs to be done through Parliament. If I was in right now, people vote me, please. If I were in Parliament right now, I would propose the legislation to sell blood.
All right. Well, that is your take. Before I get to hear from Advice Mundalo, Nick Korir, Chapter Y, Nandi County. Chapter Y, Nandi County. Chapter Y, yeah. The DCI is just there to merely tarnish some people's reputation. The judiciary shouldn't expect much from Kinoti. That is your take. I continue taking your takes as we go. Well, right now the conversation is on blood transfusion. Edgar Koski agrees with the proposal to sell blood. Earlier on when I was talking to Terera about this, he shivered at the thought of selling blood because I guess there is some morality in charging how much per how much pints, you know. What do you think about the proposal of selling blood to curb lack of blood?
I think I want to also agree with what the opinion Cherere gave, because once you talk about selling blood, there are many things that come into play. Because number one, there is then the concept of buying blood, because you can't take it for free, then you sell it. Yeah, because now the people giving the blood will also want to be to have some benefit out of it. So it is a proposal that to me is it looks like a good proposal that will be able to help them make some money. But when you look at now the longevity of it and then the dynamics of it, then you want to also shiver. And two, I don't understand how the CS, who is in charge of a country that doesn't have enough blood, is thinking about selling blood. Like, we don't have the blood, but we want to sell it. Again, I don't understand where
how about in the concept that those who need the blood in the hospital, because they pay for it anyway in private hospitals, pay for it in public hospitals, and in that case, then they make money out of the blood to go out there and collect more blood. Would that make sense?
It does make sense,
right.
But then I'm looking at it like, look at it wholesomely, because in Kenya we have people donate blood, yeah,
for free.
For free,
yes.
Then after they donate this blood for free, when they get to the hospital, they now need to pay for the blood, and that is the first thing that always makes now it brings a problem with now what you talked about. What needs to be done for people to then donate the blood? You asked, do we need then incentives? I don't think it's even about incentives, it's about sensitization. Because Kenyans do not understand why we give blood for free, and then tomorrow my loved one is on the deathbed, and you're saying we are supposed to buy the blood, and yet I'm remembering how I sat there and gave this blood for free, and now I am and took their Fanta.
Yes.
Yeah? And now here I am, I cannot be able to see this person live again because I don't have money to buy the blood that I gave for free. So we need to look at the whole point holistically.
Right.
If it's about selling the blood, then are we going to pay Kenyans to donate blood? And you know, again, the problem with our country, once collection of blood has a monetary value,
we will flock.
We will flock there, and then there will also be the question of corruption. Will we have genuine blood?
Mixed blood.
Well, somebody's going to eat something that gives them more blood.
All right. Remember the country that ate money that belonged to the cemetery.
Well, right on
money for the dead. We ate money for the dead. We will eat the blood.
Right on it. Finally, on this, as we finish wholesomely, Edgar Koski, there probably might be another solution besides selling blood, because, well, looking at selling blood, it might come with different other challenges and moral perspectives involved. Do you think that there would be a better solution before we resort to selling blood?
Well, before I answer that,
right,
I want to give you the costs that come with the
blood donation. Blood. Right.
There is that plastic bag that you use to
collect,
blood.
Yes.
And there is that syringe, there is that. And there is that person who looks for your
Who is paid.
Yes, who's paid. And there are also people who screening people to make sure that you don't carry diseases and to make sure that your blood. There is transport. And there is now keeping blood for 1 year waiting for you.
Yes.
Storage. That's why we sell blood to patients. And there is that hospital bed, and there is the consultation fee to know that you require
Why can't
blood.
the government set aside a budget for operation and sensitization instead of resorting to selling?
Where's the money from? Every money that we use is from the taxes. You see? Now, if we sell this blood, then we can attract many people. But also we have to fund it. We have to fund these people. There are people who have to eat, and there are people who are transporting it and stuff. So the other solution, beside selling blood, let's say at 1,000 for 5 for a pint, maybe, or 500 for a pint, or 200 or 300, so that it doesn't look much, is preaching to the people.
All right. Okay.
Telling them, come, let's go. The way they have been doing.
Come ye.
Appealing. Yes, come ye, appealing
All right.
to people.
Okay. Advice.
I think the fact that there are costs involved to store the blood, to organize the fora for this, to donate the blood, I think that is not justification enough for the government to charge for the blood. Remember, the government is not into the business of making profit. The government is there to provide services to its people. And therefore, these are some of the things that, in my view, should be put on national budget. And these are things that should just be given to the people. Because if the health is one of the, I think, the big four. Is one of the big four. Right. And this is some of the things that they should be looking at. If we want to have a healthy population, once you have a healthy population, you have people who will be working every day. You have more taxes. So the government should not really treat the health of Kenyans as a business, as a place where now they can be able to cash in and then cash out.
Right.
I think they should be able to just look at it as a provision of service.
Okay.
And how to, just to conclude, how to ensure that Kenyans are able to give blood. I think Kenyans are very generous, by the way. The Kenyans are very generous, and they can give out this blood for as long as they understand why they are doing it, and they also get to understand that at some point it is used for the right purpose.
All right,
we have seen Kenyans be rallied and they have donated even money.
Thank you very much, Advice Mundalo. And
Akode.
all right, I also believe that Kenyans so far have been donating without getting paid.
Can I say the last word?
2 seconds, please.
2 seconds.
Yes.
Tomorrow's headlines in Daily Nation will be about Ruto.
All right. No, actually, let us touch as we tie in. I believe I have 2 minutes exactly. Ruto allies magic bullet against Raila. Right now there is a call, Edgar, for President Uhuru Kenyatta to attend the March 21st BBI rally. And, analysts say that this is another level of desperation from the wing that apparently is calling for Ruto to attend and not leave this to someone they're calling a third party. What's your take on this? Is this magic bullet against Raila? You know, your take on the magic bullet, the claim of magic bullet against Raila.
We actually talk about the BBI.
Right.
The BBI was supposed to alienate Ruto, and it is supposed to take Ruto on the offensive, and it has to achieve that objective, and it has to be forced to achieve that objective. If it doesn't look like it is achieving, it has to achieve it, and Ruto must be on the offensive, and Ruto must lose. Ruto.
Well, Philip Mwangale says
Ruto must go home, right. Ruto must lose, and Ruto everything against BBI, even if he supports it, he should know.
Well, we are taking there, we are taking advice from there, but Philip Mwangale says the health CS is doing what the new government has become, experienced in nonsensical policy. The truth is, US stopped funding, government should organize funding. Kenyans must voluntarily donate blood. If only 1% of Kenyans donated, we will be safe. I donate annually. Do you? Philip, really? Commercializing blood transfusion is deadly and bloody. Well, that is Philip Mwangale. BBI, according to Edgar Kosgei, was supposed to be putting Ruto on the offense. According to this writer today, apparently Ruto allies now have a magic bullet against Raila, and this involves calling out on President Uhuru Kenyatta to attend the BBI rallies because he's the head of the executive and this is a national movement, and therefore should not be left in the hands of what they call a third party.
In my view, first of all, you know, the people who... There has been talk that every other time we're talking about Ruto. And you should know that the people who talk about Ruto most are Ruto people. Yeah, no one else talks about Ruto. It is Ruto people who keep telling people that they are talking about Ruto. And that's why you read the headline. This headline has no word BBI. Edgar had to pull in the word BBI.
No, it actually has.
No, you haven't read.
Subheading.
No, I'm showing your ignorance on air.
No. I'm talking about, this what was read to you was Ruto allies magic bullet against Raila. What was your opinion on that?
What's the content?
Where you went to get BBI and put it into this context? Anyway.
No, there's no anyway. Before you kill it.
But anyway, yes. In my view, I don't think there's any magic bullet that Ruto has, because what I've seen from Ruto and his allies is a series of uncalculated, disjointed moves. Because every other time, I've always said there's a lot of energy among the Ruto people, and that is given. They always have a lot of energy. They can talk from morning to evening, but with very little strategy.
He's not a Ruto newspaper.
They are always just talking. And so I think about the BBI rallies in the Rift Valley, about the president attending the BBI rallies in the Rift Valley, I think the president has the choice to make whether to attend them or not to attend them. But what is factual is that the BBI rallies, we expect more politics than BBI.
Okay.
In the BBI rallies.
Yeah, Edgar, you have just to respond. Apparently, those who are talking about Ruto more are Ruto people or Ruto's followers.
I want to go against advice. Advice,
right.
I've mentioned the name Advice. Now, Advice, this is not a Ruto newspaper. Daily Nation has been against Ruto from the word go, and it was not making sense. Today, we are discussing about Ruto in Daily Nation.
No, is this headline against Ruto, really?
One, they have very flamboyant titles with a lot of nonsense inside, which does not correspond. There's a letter that was addressed to the media. That people, when you put your headlines...
The Media Council.
Please, the Media Council. When you put your headlines, have some meat. It has no meat. Daily Nation people... Do
you not think, Edgar, it is realistic for government officials in public service who are representing the citizens to call out on the president who is elected by the citizens to attend BBI rallies, because we know that BBI as an initiative and a report is a project for the people that was created by the government, and right now actually it's supposed to be involving all the people. The president his office belongs to the citizens. Why shouldn't Kenyans call out for his president?
I have two views in that. If you call the president, it will be a presidential function. And you know how a presidential function is.
But isn't it realistic that they're asking why Raila Odinga is involved? He's not a government official.
And number two, I was finishing.
Right.
You remember the case of Mau?
Right.
Where Kibaki was to attend the launching and the chasing of people out of Mau.
Right.
And Raila was left alone. They might be leaving him alone to take the burden of the land cases, the Olekina, the Mombasa issues. And Uhuru is a very bright politician. Him coming in or him going out is a very calculated move. He might come to Nakuru to crown it and to receive the document and to silence the Tanga people, because they will sneak in the prime minister post either way later, and this thing has to happen that way.
Nobody can stop reggae.
Reggae it has to. I'm watching the club. Reggae, it's not about reggae.
Advice Mandalo, isn't it realistic that Kenyans, this particular wing now representing some Kenyans, definitely, because they're representatives of Kenyans, are calling out for the presence of President Uhuru Kenyatta in these BBI rallies?
I think we have to look at who is calling out on the president, because, if there's one of the words that politicians misuse is the word Kenyans. Every politician talks on behalf of Kenyans. So if we say Kenyans are calling out for the president, I think mostly, let's say, it is Tanga allied people who are calling out.
Who are representatives of the Kenyans as well.
Exactly, just the same way ODM legislators and the PNU and every other person is a representative of the people. So they don't have any bigger mandate to represent people. So, but my view would be that the president, all this time, and I would agree with Edgar, that the president doesn't need to attend functions that have more politics in them, because in as much as the president knows that the BBI is to unify the country, he knows that the choice to have rallies puts it at the heart of politics.
All right.
And therefore, once the rallies will always go either way, because there will be disagreement, there will be agreement here and there. And so the choice of the president to stay away gives him the image and the bravado, so that he can then solve problems that come out of them. But if he's part of the problems, then we don't have then the father. There is no one who can be able to solve this. But in Rift Valley specifically, I think even the reason why they had to push forward the Nakuru rally is because
of Meru.
They expect that there will be a lot of politics interference. There will be a lot of political interference in Rift Valley. Because that is where the Tanga Brigade is strong, and they are out to really do all the drama around the BBI. So maybe the president will need to attend, so that it becomes a presidential function, so that no one wins.
All right, thank you very much. So that no one wins.
So that advice and the ODM fraternity win.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I still do not know if there's any winner in that situation, but thank you very much, Edgar Koski, and thank you very much, Advice Mundalo. I know I'll see you another time. Frederick Sase, you said the difference between Kimorer and Aror Dam Sega and other dams is not what Edgar is alluding. For the two dams, cash was paid, and we have a claim CS Finance and his PS wanted to swindle in excess of 80 billion Kenya shillings. We cannot continue playing to the tune of politicians when we can clearly see there is a problem. Unfortunately, DCI is part of the political choir being led by the politicians. Mikauli yake Frederick Sasia. But do remember that these conversations go on Twitter and on Facebook and our pages at TV47 Kenya, at TV47 KE, and you can also find us on our website www.tv47ke.co.ke, and the SMS line is also still open as we go forward. I'm now taking a break, but I'm handing over to a very able team that's going to take you through what's trending. They call it Gumzo Mitandaoni in Swahili. Believe me, Kenyans will not stop breaking or cracking your ribs. And because it's a Thursday, tuko na sauti rumba wako standby. Don't go too far. This is the best way to start your morning. My name is Corazon Safa.